What's up, y'all? As always, I'm your host, Marcel.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Fredo, aka Papa Fredo.
Man, look, this is what we talk about: dope places, dope people, and dope reasons why you should mess with the Midwest.
This is where Midwest stories take center stage. And
You hear me?
today,
It's Midwest point of view. Let's do it.
let's go.
Let's
And today
do
we got a
it.
special story that's gonna take stage. Ain't that right, my brother?
Man, bro, we got a special story, man, that from a special person. He's gonna give you all the details. He's gonna be up shortly. But when I tell you he is doing his part to really give our story center stage, especially people from the Midwest, Detroit. Like I'm telling you,
Straight up. I mean, he gave us our chance to go center stage. You know what I'm
gave us our
saying? So we
chance.
definitely appreciate this individual here that we bringing up. I believe he is someone that is very much loved in the black community. He do a lot for our community. So I'm honored to have him here today as one of our guests.
And I'm talking about like, bro, the opportunity that he give people in the inner cities, especially like if you travel, because it's what's a 4 hour drive to meet like Lorenz Tate. You feel me? For free. To me, like
Yep.
the author of Soul Food and Best Man. You feel me? Biblical Fox, just on the icon, a black cinema historical level. Like, come on, man, what we talking about?
No, I agree. I agree. And with no further ado, we would like to welcome our guest. That'll be Troy Pryor. All right, you should pause it.
Fredo.
All right, man. Troy, thanks again for coming on today, bro. We appreciate you coming out, sharing the love with Midwest Point of View. Um, if you'd like to just take a moment to share your name here with our guests, things of that sort, and the name of the company.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. My name is Troy Pryor, founder of Creative Cypher, and just happy to be invited on the show. How y'all doing today?
No, man, I'm good, blessed, brother. It's another. Um, Hoping that the winter don't come. You feel me? Because it's November, but you know how it be in Chicago in the city. So, but
Nah,
nah,
for
man,
real,
it's,
for
it's
real.
a blessing.
How we feeling
Uh,
about Thanksgiving coming up?
Well, I'm always excited about Thanksgiving.
He said that turkey, I can't wait. That dressing, I can't wait. Nah, I feel that. Um, but man, like I do want to sprinkle a little bit on your intro as far as your jacket and who you are, because I don't think people give themselves enough credit, and I gotta give you the credit in regards to for me. I consider you like one of the blueprints, one of the spearheads to the creativity in the Midwest, in Chicago, the opportunities that you give everyday people. Like when I say you really pushing the needle towards innovation, not just in entertainment in itself, but the things you can do in the scope of entertainment. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the the thoughtful words. You don't always know what impact you're having until you sit with somebody or talk to them because you just want to solve a problem. That's the story of a lot of founders, whatever that may be. They saw something, thought it needed to be changed, and a lot of times you just got your head down, you keep going. So
Yeah,
it's all good to hear that there's some positive impact.
no,
Okay.
for sure.
Um,
So I'll start. So for me, um, I call it a lot of people's story like the backstory of talent as the architect. Like, so can you share like where you started, your journey as far as growing up in the city, and then how you got to this point of founding XL Film Fest?
Wow, yeah, that's a big jump. From where I started. So I'm from the South Side, and I was very blessed to um, have some access and exposure to opportunities through sports and a family and clergy. And so I was raised in the church and been in the pulpit since I was 13. And it taught me the importance of community building, taught me the importance of leading, bringing people together. And ultimately, those were transferable skills that I was able to apply once I became a talent. I became an actor first. And being an actor, it got me in the room and it gave me some visibility on just production and how things were going. And the thing that stood out to me oftentimes, outside of seeing people waste money all the time on sets and just thinking about how things could be done in a more efficient way or a better way, the thing that stood out to me was just the amount of dots that weren't connected. Just a lot of things that were siloed off, a lot of great minds that didn't know that one another existed. Your neighbor could be dope in something, but you don't even know about it because you never connected. So that stood out to me because I came from a family and community. So it really wouldn't have mattered what field I got into. I would have always had that perspective. And so I just happened to get in entertainment. And so often it's such a dog eat dog world. Resources may be there, but you're not aware of them. And then you also live in a segregated, it's Chicago, the most segregated city in America. So you have all that going on. And so it is it becomes even more apparent if you're coming from this community space or being on teams my entire life. 4 sports in high school, 2 sports in college, University of Illinois, linebacker, powerlifter. So I was always in these spaces where I'm in teams. So once you get thrust into an environment where you're seeing inefficiencies, but you're seeing them as a result of folks not collaborating, not just because somebody wasn't talented or not just because the resource wasn't there. It was just you all don't even know each other exist. So I saw a lane and that became really organic. I never called myself a producer to begin with. It was usually me just doing things that I thought were common sense as it relates to connecting people to resources and being able to leverage my interpersonal communication skills as a speaker. All these things were just things that were innate. I didn't think that they were I didn't view them as a business. I just looked at them as things tools that I could use. And eventually somebody told me that I was producing. And that's what led to a couple of films. And then I'm a systems guy. So I'm like, well, if I can create a system that can support my ability to produce one project, how can I take that to producing 5 and to producing more and supporting others where I can build an ecosystem? And that's what eventually led to Creative Cypher. And then that took on a life of its own. And then we eventually launched Excel Fest. But it all stemmed from that same philosophy of community first, identifying talent, resources, how to connect them, and how to fill the gaps or solve a problem. That's what most businesses are, problem solving.
For sure.
Okay. No, I can appreciate that. I mean, I'm pretty sure the community that comes through XL Film Fest can appreciate that as well. I know with us going through XL Film Fest, getting the chance to reconnect and connect with other potential Black entrepreneurs and those within the film space, it was just amazing. I mean, and thank you again for the opportunity, at least to take our podcast to the next level there as well. I thought that was pretty dope for the setup that you had, for potential podcasters.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And we're planning XL26 already. Podcast station will still be a part of it. We're going to build on that too. So be on the lookout once we start to put those
What's the names in that?
collaborators. Yeah.
Gosh.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, man. The podcast space is a really growing part next to streaming and the other entities. So I definitely think that that'll be a dope thing. But Fredo, go ahead.
So I guess my next question was going to be, what is the core mission behind XL Film Fest, and what makes it differ from other film festivals?
The core mission of XL Fest was to generate revenue to reinvest into content production while being a marketplace to sell that content. Most of the festivals that we see are cool experiences. They're great showcases, and they might be cool for some accolades. You might win an award. Maybe you get a grant. Most you don't. Most of the time you don't. But we wanted to do something that was a little bit different because the rest of them have already existed. In 3 years, we've already secured our 6th deal with AMC and now working on another 5 with them because they licensed content from the 2024 XL Festival that then streamed on AMC Plus, and then did a deal with the best performing project that streamed on their platform. They re-upped with them and gave them a 2-year deal that we were able to broker as well. So they came to the festival, they licensed 5 films, and they streamed on AMC Plus. The one that did the best numbers, they went back to them and offered another deal. And so we're excited about that because that's not something that you typically see. You don't see that in the Midwest. You definitely don't see that. You don't see in Chicago. You'll see that at festivals that are called marketplaces or destination festivals. So your bigger festivals, Sundance, South by, TIFF. A lot of times, filmmakers will go there because they're trying to sell their work. So it's a marketplace. It's not just I want you to see this and pat me on the back. People are trying to get deals. And so that was one of the big things we wanted to do, was create a space that was attractive enough for quality content, talented storytellers, but also distributors to come and have a good time, enjoy the festival as a live experience, but also be present to actually broker deals, to know that those 3 projects that we saw, we want to talk to those filmmakers and see if we can get them on our platform. That's one of the biggest things. It's probably the biggest difference between our festival and others. Even as a grassroots or smaller festival, the impact that it's had is outweighing, if not all, most of the festivals for sure in Chicago, even those that have a bigger brand. Because at the end of the day, as a filmmaker myself, you start to ask yourself, what's the point of a film festival? Like, why am I going to the film festival? Because you wind up spending more money. You already invested your resources into the project, and it feels cool to get into a film festival, to put that laurel on there and say official selection. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're an independent filmmaker, you're already trying to figure out how to be as resourceful as possible with your money. And so now a film festival says, we want to bring you in. We want to, show your project. Well, now, if you don't live by that festival, you got to travel to the festival. You might have to get a hotel. And if they're not paying for any of that stuff, you're just incurring more overhead just to show it. And that's one festival. So we wanted to be intentional about making it make sense for a filmmaker. If a filmmaker is going to come to your festival, then it's got to be more than just showing your work, because they can send a link out to anybody and anybody can watch it. So that's really the biggest thing that separates us from the other festivals. The other thing that I saw after co-chairing other festivals and being around is just a lot of festivals weren't festive. It's like, if you're going to be a festival, it's got to be something that's attractive. It's got to be an enjoyable moment. I see too many things that are called festivals that are they're very robotic. They're very corporate. Like, I want to know what happens when this film is over and the panelists have walked off stage. Does everybody just go home? Or is there something else going on that makes this a live experience, that makes this more enjoyable? Because now you're creating that environment, going back to how I started this conversation with community. It can't just be, I'm talking at folks. This has to be something where it's attractive for people to be present, and there's an environment for them to organically connect with one another. Because that's how Cypher started to begin with. When we started our first events, I think after the 3rd event, I was like, I'm not producing a networking event. There are enough of those already. That will happen organically if it makes sense for people to be in the room. And then if you do that, then the right people will connect with one another. And now what I'll do is I'll help to facilitate the relationships and facilitate whatever the projects are. But ultimately, when we come back together, whether that means next month, next quarter, next year, I want it to be where you're able to say, hey, as a result of me coming to this and connecting with these individuals, look at what we've been able to do, what we've been able to accomplish. That was the goal.
No, man, that's dope. That's amazing.
Yeah.
appreciate you creating a space of purpose, right? For people who say filmmaking is my purpose, film, the industry, these arts is my purpose. This is where I can go to cultivate that on every level in the film industry. So my question for you is, I know that as a founder, as a leader, these things can be a lot. They can be heavy at moments when you have all these moving pieces, when you're broken all these deals in the boardroom. How did your previous experiences, even from college, even playing, like you talk a lot about a team, like you've been a linebacker, how did any of those things approach how you tackle your leadership in entertainment and brokering these deals in the boardroom now?
I like to use the word tackle. Right. No, sports is a huge learning experience for anybody. My son's in sports now, and I'm like, listen, man, you don't have to play college sports, and that doesn't have to be your goal to go pro, but you learn so much from being on a sports team, the discipline, the teamwork skills. The biggest thing that I learned from that is just being coachable. Because if you're a blue chip athlete at any point in time in your career, you were probably blessed with some genetic traits that help you. And it's easy to get caught up in that and believe the hype. But then you get to the next level and everybody's fast. Everybody's strong. Everybody was the man at their school, and now you here, and now you low man on the totem. You starting over again. So one of the things that is applicable is that work ethic, because it's not a situation where 1 + 1 always equals 2, right? You can do all the right things, but timing is critical. There's a lot of politics involved. And so I learned from, especially being a linebacker, is the ability to be observant. And then there's some other things that I've gone through in life as a talent, as an actor, that have honed my observational skills. But when you play sports, and definitely a dangerous sport like football, being observant is critical to just walking off the field. You have to be able to see everything that's going on. So for me, it predisposed me to becoming a producer, because I had to know everybody's role. I can't do everything, nor should I, but I at least need to know, like, what's your role? What's your purpose? Okay, when you do this, then that person, it signals this person to do that. So you figure out how to be a good talent scout. That's a huge element too, because you realize that you can't do it all. But if you have to build your team, you got to be able to identify the strengths of others and then mobilize and motivate them towards action. And those are not things that you're going to pick up a book and learn. One of the key things that I have become more aware of is that as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, especially not having, I didn't have anybody in entertainment when I was growing up. Like my family, they had done some amazing things, but they were in other fields. So the things that I grasped from them were amazing, but they had to be transferred into a field where I didn't have anybody to lean on and navigate, like the specificity of the entertainment industry. There were certainly things that you can look at and say, oh, this works here and it works over here too. There are universal traits, universal lessons. But one of the things that just like really stood out to me was that I will find myself at times in rooms with people that are, like, on paper, you would say, oh, these individuals, they make more money or they've been more successful. But I'll find myself connecting with those individuals' superiors a lot faster. Like, I could talk to your boss on a different level than you can. Not good or bad. It's just a matter of, when you're a solopreneur, you have to think about things that others may not. If you work in a space where they got a ton of departments, then you're probably just going to work. You're not thinking about, are the doors unlocked? You're not thinking
the
about
real business aspect.
Yeah, you're not thinking about
the business,
the janitorial service.
Yeah.
Like, you got to think about all of those things when you're a solopreneur. So fast forward, you go into a meeting with folks that are big wigs and they make more money than you on paper, but they haven't developed the muscle that you have because you've had to think about things that they haven't. And it's not good or
So
bad. So I want to be clear.
yeah,
It's just observing that you all have not had to consider these things that I have. So what I have noticed is that at times somebody will bring me in a room, and the next thing you know, my next meeting is with the CEO, or my next meeting is with the founder. And it's not like by design. It just happens organically because the nature of our conversations match up a bit more, rather than someone that you talk to that has to go ask for permission. I've been in plenty of meetings where I'm talking to somebody, and next thing you know, they got to work it up. They got to, take it up the chain.
Work it up the ladder, yeah.
And that's cool. That's protocol. But it also is, it also became something where I'm like, man, I think I can cut through a lot of this red tape. And sometimes that red tape are just gatekeepers. Sometimes they're haters. Sometimes it's so if you're able to just cut through a lot of that, because you can connect with folks that have probably developed that same muscle. They may have a lot more zeros behind their bank account, but the muscle is still something that they've had to develop. And so I've observed how that's been very beneficial for me.
no man, I agree. I agree. We agree.
Yeah, no, I like how you put that, because that puts kind of puts the push behind the saying, what is it? It's not how much money you have, but it's the network. So it's not your wealth, it's yourself, but it's your network that actually makes the wealth.
Yeah, well, your network is your net worth.
Yeah,
Like,
there we go. That's what it is.
I remember a guy told me a long time ago, he was like, listen, money's important, but even if you don't have that, it's like you need to know how money flows, and you need to know the deal flow. There are plenty of times, like, money is a tool and it's important. So I don't want to downplay that. But
Yeah.
there are folks that have access to far more and do far less with
Yeah.
it. And there are folks that don't have as much, but they're able to
Run a mile.
yeah. So there's something to that, and so what you want is a balance. That's ultimately what you want.
Oh man.
So,
So
can you talk about some standout moments or guests from past XL Fest that had big impacts?
I would argue the guest that had the biggest impact on XL Fest was Robert Townsend in year one. Uh, the festival has grown since then. The numbers have grown, and some of the attendance, the audiences for certain speakers were larger than that one. But if it wasn't for Robert Townsend speaking that year one, basically given that cosign, because he's revered in the entertainment industry and is also from Chicago as well, so it timed out really well, then that snowball effect wouldn't have happened. I know there was another speaker that was considering coming to speak, and when they found out we had Robert Townsend, they were dumbfounded. They were like, "How'd you get Robert Townsend year one?" And
He's
I'm
a great
grateful.
actor.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that we have mutual contacts that he respects, and that individual was able to get Robert to come out. But I would say he's probably the most impactful person, because if he wasn't involved that year, and that year was actually, we had two strikes in the industry. We had the writer strike and the actor strike. So there were some other heavy hitters that were going to speak at our first year. But what happened with the strike, a lot of folks were worried about what they could and couldn't say on stage because of the strike rules. So some people had to back out of speaking year one. But because Robert Townsend was already beyond that space as an actor, because he was a director, he can get on stage at any point in time with any hat. He doesn't have to be on stage as an actor. So he didn't have that. So as a result, it was just great to have him on board, and it started a snowball effect of others that have done very well in the industry that have wanted to get involved.
no man, that's beautiful. And thank Robert. I'm gonna say this. Thank you, Robert Townsend, for Media Man. I don't think people give him credit for, like,
Yeah.
yes, we love Black Panther, but there was Media Man. So I
And
appreciate
and
that.
by the way, we're working on something right now. We'll announce it this week with Robert Townsend. It'll be in Chicago in December, so we're excited to announce that.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll be
but
excited to hear about that. Keep an eye out there,
yeah,
ear out
yeah.
there.
So we could pull up for sure. Um, I can always tell from the way you've done under interviews, the way you speak publicly, you do things for the community. We witness you partner with like Champ Smith Mentor, and I appreciate that person as a mentor. So when it comes to community, how does XL Film Fest create these opportunities and pathways for people like us in our cities and neighboring cities, for BPOC and other storytellers, actors, producers, A&Rs?
Well, the first thing is just curating those moments, those live experiences, segments of the festival that make sense. We try to focus 50% of the time on content creators at the festival, another 25 on folks that are patrons of the art, folks that just want to come out and enjoy a good time, listen to inspirational conversations, and the other quarter on institutions um, that are always seeking to, expand their community outreach. And so we try to be intentional about what we curate that's happened at the festival first, because the rest of it happens organically when you've given people a reason to show up. Then that's that part. Now the other thing that we are intentional about are internship and mentor program or opportunities. So we'll work with other organizations that already have workforce development programs, mentor programs, and within our production company or other things, we will provide opportunities, and they'll vet individuals that they think should be collaborating with us, and that could range from folks that help with the marketing and promotion to ushers to hospitality to facilitating just the flow of traffic in the spaces, setup, breakdown. All of these are cool opportunities. And I know that over the past few years, even before Excel, we were doing that just at Cypher events in general. And there were quite a few folks that came on as a mentee, an intern, just to help out on an event. They stay in contact with us. And every time we'd have something, we reach out. And it's been amazing to see what they've done. Like some of those folks, they were just volunteering at an event, but they had other ambitions. And now that they were at this event, they got an opportunity to talk to certain people and connect with them. I advise anybody, like that is the hidden like way to get involved in a lot of these festivals with folks that you want to connect with, is find a way to volunteer. Be careful that you're not exploited, because some of these organizations will take advantage of you. But most of these major festivals, they're truly run by volunteers. And so if it's a festival that you think makes sense and what they're asking is something that's manageable, that's a great way to get involved, especially for festivals that come with a hefty price tag. And so it's just good to, bypass that. But ultimately, like if you can check out an agenda and you can be a part of planning process early on, you can get a lot of access.
Oh, that's a gem. That's a gem. All you
Yeah,
people
that's
starting out, that's
definitely
a
a
gem.
gem. So what would you say to like young creators today, those that are looking to get into the media industry, film industry, as far as with to encourage them to do so and also be successful while doing so?
Study. I would always say study, whatever that means for you. Just pay attention. There's nothing new under the sun. So you don't have to always reinvent the wheel. Like pay attention to folks that are already doing what you want to do. If you're fortunate enough to get access to them, whatever that may mean, whether it's being able to go to a summit, using LinkedIn, reaching out to somebody's personal assistant, whatever it is, whatever you want to do is probably been written about already. So make sure that you're a student of your industry, a student of that game. The other thing is just to make sure it's exactly what you want, because you could get pulled and stretched in so many different directions. And I know I'm guilty of it too, where sometimes I just have to say, man, you're doing too many things, or let's take a step back, or let me systematize it to where I can still do all the things, but I've got it set up to where I really only do this one thing, and then it's a domino effect. That happens a lot of times. A lot of times people see me doing several things, but they don't realize that I took time to set things up. So I only did one thing. But once that one thing happened, it triggered the next thing, and my name is just on the rest of them. But I'm not in all those places. And so creating a system is definitely beneficial for you. I would say if you have the opportunity to shadow someone, it may not be the big name. Don't worry about that. One of the things that I was told is like sometimes you'll shoot yourself in the foot because you think that every opportunity comes with a check. Now, that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be worth it, but there are times when you get more than a payment for that. Like if it gives you access to something or someone that you would not have had access to, or if it allows you to expand your brand, or market your offerings, then you can turn that into revenue. And so I would say you just want to be like really conscious and selective with your time, but also don't be so quick to turn stuff down if your brand hasn't grown. One of my favorite quotes is you can't make demands until you're in demand. And so it doesn't mean you say yes to everything. That is not what that means, but it does mean that you need to make sure that you build up your portfolio in a way where it makes sense, it justifies your ask. And not only does it do that, that's just on paper, that's just the business, but it also does something to your confidence. Like it does something to you when you actually trained in the off season and you show up to play. You trained, like you feel like I can do this now. But you also know, like we all know what it's like to not have put the work in and then to be present and just hoping nobody sees it. Like what it's like when you didn't study for that test and you just hoping that you get the answers right.
I hope I passed.
Yeah,
you didn't know everything.
Yeah, you didn't study, so you know what that's like. And so when you take those opportunities, a lot of times people pass up on moments that will help them to refine their craft. As an actor, that was one of the things we always talked about. It's like, yo, you cannot wait until you get booked on a project to act. It's like a muscle. It's like saying, like, I'm gonna wait until I get signed to the team to start working out. You're never gonna get signed to the team. And that's the time you spend in the gym where nobody sees it. So same thing with anything else. Most of your energy is in you're doing things in spaces where people are not going to see it. They're never going to know about it, but it's all to prepare you for those moments when you do get an opportunity. So I would tell folks, like, make sure that it makes sense, but also take advantage of those opportunities because you never know what that relationship could turn into.
Okay. No, man,
Thank you.
I definitely understand that, especially even when I slightly started acting and I learned so much getting my opportunity to act in Surviving Chicago, which is a YouTube series, the top 3 YouTube series in the city. But ironically, when I got my opportunity, I took one of out of the festival that you guys had, the acting class. And it gave me the background the next time I went on screen because they do sort of improv acting, but I got to be able to sit and learn technicals. So now I take this into the show. So when I say that y'all festival has so many values on so many levels, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is why I talk to so many people about this as an opportunity. And then one of the things I want to ask you when it comes to cultivating these type of things, what are some of the steps and things that you put into alignment when you're putting XL Film Fest on these national stage? Like what do you sit back and say, this needs to go here, X, Y, and Z?
A lot of times I'll pay attention to the times. Like year one, we were close to not even doing our festival because of those strikes. And it was already a brand new thing. There was a window of time where I was like, yo, I could just pull the plug on this because it hasn't happened before. And so nobody's going to miss it. Right. Because we didn't know what was going on with the strikes and still trying to fundraise and all that. And it's already enough to try to do something new anyway. That's enough stress. But instead of not doing the festival, we pivoted some of our conversations to actually talk about what was going on in the industry and had conversations around the strikes. Instead of like trying to act like those things weren't going on, we just called them out and just said, listen, let's talk about this. This is real. And so it shows your ability to navigate the times, pivot, but also not shy away from, or I should say, pay attention to the things that people want to actually talk about. Like we could have just turned that into any generic panel, but it's like, yo, that's the stuff that people want to talk about. They want to know what's going on right now, which is like one of the things that's nerve-wracking when you hear politicians spin a lot. You like your constituents are asking you questions because these are the things that they're interested in or are important to them. You're spinning and they see you spinning. You either don't want to say it or you don't know the answer to it. And that's problematic. And so
that can make an upset crowd for sure.
Like my food stamps is off and you don't want to talk about my food stamps. I
mean, look at the times right now, man. It's like there's real stuff going on. And you know, people that should be talking about it are, a lot of times talking about other stuff. So paying attention to what's going on, listening. You know, after we did our first, I think we did it after our first festival, but definitely after the second one and the third one, we started to send out surveys just to understand like what made the most sense, what worked best, get as much data insight as possible, because you can have an idea in your head, and sometimes as creators, we think the thing we come up with is the most brilliant thing ever, and it might be okay. You know, it might be okay. And so you want to hear feedback from respected sources and those that are supporting you. So listening is a huge element of how we plan the next step, is knowing like, did this thing work? Did this idea work? Was that panel too long? Should our panels be shorter? Should we have more time in between? Like all that stuff plays into the decisions that we make to plan the next festival.
And you typically wouldn't know any of those things if it wasn't for the first festival. So I get why the first festival is such a pillar to everything that you have going on now. What are some challenges you faced in building the XL Film Fest and growing creative Cypher?
I mean, the main challenge is typically it's probably 50-50 because they support one another, but any organization's main challenge is typically going to be funding and or marketing, right? You could argue that you have to have a strong product. That part wasn't our problem because we had that. But our biggest issue was making sure that we had a proper marketing and PR strategy around that. Because a lot of people to this day, even with the success of the third festival, are still like, man, I didn't even know you all were doing this. And so, you know, it's important to understand that. So that was probably the biggest issue because we had a lot of folks that were very gracious to speak at our festival without even charging us because they saw potential. They believed in it. So we were very grateful for that. And so while funding was important, we were very resourceful and able to make it happen. And so I would say it's definitely funding, but you could argue that a little bit more than that was really marketing. You could also argue that the more funding you have, the more marketing you can do. So it just depends on how the conversation goes. But those are the two biggest issues for us because we have the product, we have everything that's in place, but it's about making sure that the people know about it. And then that additional funding helps relieve some of the stress because it's cool to be resourceful. And that, you know, that muscle that I mentioned earlier is great. But that's why I said you want to have a balance because even though you can do a lot with a little, you can build up the muscle. It's very taxing. It's very taxing to have to try to think through new ways to get things done every single time. And so ultimately you want to get to the point where it's like, okay, cool. This thing is funded. We can breathe a little bit and then go from there.
No, man, that's the truth. That's the truth. So when it comes to everything that you're building, for me, one of my questions is how important is it to have black leadership, black led product, head of departments for festivals like these, especially for communities like ours, versus some of these other festivals that are just black targeted or urban targeted festivals.
It's huge. And it's not even about, the whole conversation around anti DEI and all of this stuff is a performative argument. At the end of the day, if you have a product and you're trying to sell that product to a community, then you need to have people that are running that product or leading that product that understand that community. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's it. It doesn't, there isn't a whole lot more. Like, you can expound on that, you can get into nuances and all that, but at the end of the day, if you ask me about playing college basketball, I can only tell you so much. I didn't
Yep.
play college basketball. But if you come and ask me about college football, I'll be able to give you a little bit more insight because that's what I did. And so when you have products or programming, in this case, a festival that's geared towards a black and brown audience, if you don't see any black and brown folks in the leadership, then it's going to have an impact on the product. It's going to have an impact on how that product is communicated to the audience. And it's going to have an impact on how the audience communicates to you, because people can weed through the smoke screen. You can, I mean, we've all walked in spaces. We've been to restaurants and you were like, who made this?
Who took this second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the love? Where's
And
the culture?
and consumers, we're savvy enough to weed through all that. After a while, you're like, okay, I hear what you're saying. You got black in the title, but you walk in and you don't feel it in your soul. So you
You don't
already
see
know.
it.
You
Yep.
don't see it.
Yep. I got you. I got you. I like how you put that. I like how you put that. Yeah. Um, how do you think Midwest businesses can collaborate to amplify their impact within and beyond their communities at this time?
It's important to be involved with, collectives. I would go to, it's networking events are good if you have a plan. If you go to them, being involved in like your chambers of commerce, those are good as well. I mean, with tech and AI tools and all kind of, you can ask AI whatever you want, like to find out information about stuff now. So I think at the end of the day, it still boils back down to community. So if the question is how can they amplify one another, you got to know that one another exists first, and you got to create genuine connections. I've always been a huge proponent of collaborations in general. Like, I don't want to have to do everything, but if you're proficient in the area that I'm just okay in, then you take the lead in that. Let's figure out how to make it make sense for everybody. I think that's another thing that's important too. I remember when I first started, it could have just been an iteration of Creative Cypher. It may have been Creative Cypher, or it could have been a version of something else before. But I remember getting the note that oftentimes, at least with filmmakers, they'll put these collectives together and everybody comes together, but everybody's got their own projects and everybody has their own priorities. And in that, there becomes a problem because now the collective can never figure out what the next steps are because everybody wants their project to be the next thing.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting your project to be the next thing. But if the intent is to create a system, it has to be done in a way where it's mutually beneficial, which might mean your project is a third project on the slate. It might mean that. And if that's not what you want, you start to see people drop off. Like, nah, I'm going to go do my own thing. You can't be mad at somebody that wants to focus on their own stuff. That's cool, but you just got to manage expectations. And if you go off and do your thing on a silo, then you're only going to go so far and it throws things off. So to your question, I think once you identify other businesses in the Midwest and understand what they're doing, you have to come with the spirit of how can I provide value to this and make whatever we're going to do mutually beneficial. So everybody feels as though it's a win. Like, let's make this a win for everybody.
No, I agree with that,
Yeah, I agree too.
and you see that when you see XL Film Fest cultivate these collaborations from grassroots collaborations to high level collaborations like Lorenz Tate, and you see how you've made this become an amazing partnership to where you can see that everybody has that same purpose, that same mission, and they love for the craft, whether they just discovered the craft because of XL Film Fest or they've been sitting in the craft. And I think that that's an amazing thing, with the podcast stage and all the things that you guys are doing. So for what I, I'm a pry just a little bit. What can you tell us about any other upcoming projects or initiatives that XL Film Fest may have that our audience can look forward to, that we can dive into and just see how we can grow? Oh, you muted. You muted. 1 second. Okay.
But first thing I need to do is get off mute. Um, but yeah, we've got an upcoming project we'll be doing with Robert Townsend in Chicago, December 6th, Saturday, December 6th, and Sunday the 7th. We'll be showing some of his classic films with conversations. You already mentioned one of them that we'll be showing there, and it's going to be a cool moment. We are working on a few showcases.
Will it be kid friendly?
House, what's that?
Will that event be kid friendly? You know, for the parents out there.
Actually, yes. So on that Sunday, the morning late morning screening is going to be a kid friendly screening. It's actually Meteor Man. So
okay, great.
yeah, that's going to be a cool moment. So you'll see more information about that. But that's the next Cypher event we have coming up. There's some other things that we're collaborating on, but that's the next event there. We also have a radio show on 102.3 that comes on Thursdays. So we're excited about that. We launched that. It was an existing show that we joined, and we came on and as executive producers for that. So that's on Thursdays. So be on the lookout for that. There'll be some more information about that. And the biggest thing right now is not a specific project. It is that I am stepping down as the president of Creative Cypher and appointing an interim president. I'll move into a chairman only role. So I'll still greenlight things, but there will be someone else very capable, very talented that will be in a position to run the day-to-day of things. So I'm really excited about that.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for giving parents an opportunity to bring out the kids. Appreciate that. And my final question here for you, Troy, is going to be, here on Midwest Point of View, we like to shout out the dope people, dope places, and dope things. With you being a dope person, that's why we have you here today. But I have to ask you, right? What are your top three? What is a dope person, a dope place, and a dope thing that you like here in the Midwest?
In the Midwest.
Yep.
Dope person.
Wow. It could be a relative if that's someone you know that inspired you throughout life, whichever, as long as they're from the Midwest. That's all I'm looking for.
Okay. Wow, I've been inspired by so many people. That's
head scratcher.
tough. That's tough, man. That's tough. I mean,
we can start other places.
I say maybe it's not going to be one person. I'm gonna say family. I'm gonna say my family more than anything else has inspired me. And y'all could do multiple episodes on some of the folks that
we gonna have to. You put the line.
Yeah. Like this. My story is cool, but it's some folks in my family. They done some things on a big scale, so I'm very grateful for that. So I say my family for that, and then a dope place. Man, I'm moving around so much. Sometimes I just like to sit still. Uh,
On the water,
yeah, just to
Lake
sit.
Geneva.
Um, yeah, in the Midwest. You know what? Um, I enjoy going back down to Champaign with my son,
Okay.
taking him to the football games. So
Okay.
that
I've been
that's
to
cool.
Champagne. It's nice down there.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Just taking them back just because it's I think being on the
Stomping
field.
ground.
There's something about being on the field with my son. That's cool. Um,
Is that
and
where you attended school as well?
yes,
Got you.
yeah, yeah, I was down there. So I was a linebacker at U of I. So being able to be on the field again and have my son on the field, that's a cool moment for me. And then what was the last one?
A
The
dope
last one
thing
was I'm very big on this one. Dope reasons.
or
Yeah,
dope reasons. Yeah.
Dope reasons.
dope reasons. Like a dope reason why people should respect and have insight. Come look at the Midwest. Come look at Chicago, Detroit, Indiana.
Man, like just look up all the people that have come from Chicago. I mean, it is like it's crazy. Now I'm lit. Like it is crazy
Yeah,
when
the
you think
list is
about how
long.
many
The
people
list
are.
is
Yes,
very long.
yes. I'm talking about heavy hitters
Yeah.
that have come from. I'm focused on Chicago, but if you take it to the Midwest, I mean for sure. But I would say there's a grind, there's a work ethic that folks from the Midwest have that when they go in other places, you can tell they develop that muscle, so they're able to navigate issues. They're able to navigate things a lot differently. So
Our
um,
work ethic, you're saying,
that
it
work
stands
ethic,
out
sure,
pretty much.
yeah,
When we go
that's,
somewhere else, they can tell you from the Midwest based off that
yeah,
work ethic. I
absolutely.
like it. I like it.
No man, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. You coming on, you giving us all these opportunities, the things that you do for the city. Thank you for joining us on Midwest Point of View.
Yes. Can you tell our followers where they can network with you, connect with you on like your social media platforms, things of that sort? Um, Anything that they can, take right now so that they can get in touch with you if they would like to.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Y'all appreciate it. If you want to learn more information, you can go to creativecypher.org. You can follow us on social media at Creative Cypher or at XL Film Festival. If you want to hear us on Thursdays on 102.3, tune in to Rejoice 102.3, 130. And just excited about that opportunity. So next year's festivals back in August, but we'll be doing some things throughout the year. So if you go to the website, you can also subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date with everything else that we have going on.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Appreciate you, bro. As always, we're gonna stay in touch, stay in tight.
Peace.
Thank you, brother.
Peace.